Hi, everyone, and welcome to Off the Record, the sports podcast of breaking news, hard opinion, and a little bit of gibber. I'm Andrew Webster from The Australian. I'm joined by my partner in journalistic crime, Philip Rothfield from the Daily Telegraph. Hi, Buzz.
Hello, Webby. How are you this week? You well?
Never been better.
No, I'm flying too.
Oh, good to see you. You look like you're flying.
Do it look like it?
Yeah, you
I
look
feel good.
Yeah,
I feel good. I'm in the gym, mate. I'm in the gym.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I've got an old man's weights program going on, and a bit sore.
What, are you lifting the 2 kilo dumbbells?
No, I do more than 2 kilo, trust me.
I can imagine. Look at those massive guns on you. Coming up on the show today, Buzz has a story about Des Hasler's future at the Gold Coast Titans. We ask if Nathan Cleary really has to dominate the Origin decider to cement his place in history. In our War Stories segment, we're going to talk about our first back pages, which will be fun.
Yep.
As we do every week, our big shout-out to our friends at Code Sports. You can get an annual subscription to Australia's best sports website for just $49. That features Australia's best sports journalism. The Code Sports app is essential for every sports fan. You go to codesports.com.au/OTR to get the special discount. I need the money because I've had a bit of a costly week.
Have you? What have you done?
My dog, I haven't done anything. My dog, Stevie Nicks, she's done her ACL.
You bull.
No, she has.
Serious?
She's partially torn
How
a cruciate.
How do you diagnose a partially torn ACL? Was Stevie limping or?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
right.
And then she's in pain, and when I took her to the vet on Saturday, they gave her some painkillers. And then they gave me the estimate of what the X-rays would be on Monday. Then I needed to take some painkillers myself.
Yeah.
And she's partially
How did
torn
this
a
injury
cruciate.
occur?
The dog walker had her out and about.
Oh, really?
While I was on Saturday League kickoff on SEN and Fox Sports, one of my other
What's
jobs.
the dog walker doing on a walk doing an ACL?
She runs. She likes to run. She runs like the wind.
There you go.
My little
Lucky you got plenty.
My little staffy thinks she's a greyhound.
Yeah, right.
And I'm very disappointed in the cruciate because I was going to run her at Wenty Park, but don't worry. Hey, Buzz, who's your champ of the week?
My champ this week is a good old mate of mine, Paul Gallen. Reason he's my champ, we've just had him in the studio here for an hour, and it was one of the most fascinating interviews we've done for a long, long time. And obviously he was here to promote his fight with Sonny Bill Williams on Wednesday week. But when our listeners tune into the podcast about 24 hours after you listen to this, my goodness, he opened up, didn't he?
Explosive. He went at it. Yeah. I said at one point there, I said, this is better than the fight.
Yes.
He unloaded. He made some really big revelations about his lifestyle.
His personal life.
Yeah, and also just
and you know
that hatred of Sonny Bill is real.
And you could tell that there was stuff he wanted to get off his chest and share. And I don't think he was here just to get pay-per-views. The way he was speaking, he was so genuine about particularly some of the personal stuff where he needed to get some help to sort his life out. Great, and I'm so glad that he came here and shared it.
Can I tell you this? I had no intention of paying the $70 to stand to watch that fight. I'm going to pay it now.
Yeah, I'll watch it too.
Yeah, I'll have to.
I will. I might even go out there, Webby. Why don't we go out together?
Well, it takes a lot for me to get west of Anzac Parade on a school night, but maybe I will. Hey, I'm going to give a rap to both the New South Wales and Queensland sides for the really mature way they've handled the very sad death of Cameron Munster's father in the lead up to Origin 3. I thought, and we send our condolences to Cameron and his family. I thought the way both Harry Grant and Stephen Crichton spoke about it in their media early this week was really touching, and to me it just showed how grown up the game is. You know, people sit there and bag rugby league footballers for being Neanderthals and not being the smartest cookies, but there's a lot of really, really good blokes out there. And I think a critter was the one who said we honour Cameron and his father by playing as well as we can on Wednesday night. I thought it was a really touching thing for an opposition player to say in a really tough week for Cameron and his family.
Yeah, and I thought Billy Slater handled with a lot of class when he announced it, and the players were there, and a show of unity and support and comfort for Paul Cameron and his family. And I spoke to Bianca Munster last week for the other half in McCollum, and she spoke with so much pride about his development as a man, a father and a footballer to captain Queensland, and I'm so glad his dad Steve was there to watch him lead Queensland out in Perth in his first game as captain. Yeah, very, very special.
Very touching.
And while I'm always desperate for New South Wales to win, I just hope he plays his backside, and he will.
Of course he will.
He'll do it for Dad.
He will. He will. Who's your chump, Buzz?
My chump is Wayne Bennett. I've had him chump all year, but I'll tell you why he's my chump. South, and we're going to talk about him a bit later, are going like bastards. And they need Wayne, I think, to be part of a really big off-season review and preparation for next year because they're gone. They're on the bottom of the ladder. That he has applied for the Kangaroos tour. John wants to go to England for a month rather than stay back here and do this. Mate, there's a lot of work to be done. That club needs a fix-it plan. They really do. And, look, I'm surprised that he's applied. I don't think that by the time people listen to this, the job might already be announced. But I just think he should withdraw his application straight away and say, South Sydney are paying me $1 million a year. They have to meet my priority. Are you with me?
No.
Well, why?
Because he's going
Who's going to do the review?
He can do it.
What, from England? From Manchester?
Plenty of time before they go away.
Oh, okay. This is going to be one of those days where you just disagree and be a narc for the sake of it. It is.
You, fair income. No, I have just disagreed with you on one point. Yeah. On one point, and you say I'm going to be a narc all through it.
You know, go on. Well, what's yours, chump? I'll rip yours apart.
Look how long mine is.
Well,
I've got a few here.
Can I go out and make a cup of tea while you
go and have a cigarette? Go and have a Nicorette. Hey, so my chump. There's an old saying, Buzz. Jack Gibson, wrote in one of his scrapbooks when I was writing a book on Jack Gibson about the role between the media and sports people. You write there while you text away while I'm making my point.
Well, I have an urgent one, but I am listening.
He said, you want better stories, win more games.
Yeah.
So Waratahs captain Hugh Sinclair had a crack at the media for not being positive enough up to the Waratahs game between against the British Lions of the weekend. They lost 21-10, spirited effort. But Hugh, brother, mate, you guys came 8th this season. You came last year. The Lions have put 40 on the Reds, 50 almost on the Force. You want better stories, win more games. Which brings you to Benji Marshall.
Yeah.
He also had a crack at the media after the Tigers had upset the Roosters. They'd lost their last 6. They are currently 14th and should be in the 8. They've won the last 3 wooden spoons. Benji, you want better stories, win more games.
And there's a bit of shit happening apart from the fact they've lost 6 games.
100%. My last one, though, is for this gibberer. I don't like to get into social media.
Gee, sure, in a mood.
But I'm in a good mood. There was some gibber on Instagram last weekend who had a crack at us for having an opinion about the Origin teams for the decider. And he said, how can we listen to these blokes who have never tucked a ball under their arm? Now, I wouldn't normally care about this type of bullshit.
Well, I'm surprised.
But listen. But the bloke...
Did you block him?
The bloke's profile was a cavoodle. It was his cavoodle.
Oh, dear.
So, mate, if you're listening out there, I've got a bit of advice. Grow a set. Put your name and your photo on your profile. Yeah. And do us all a favour until then and fuck off.
Does he know I've been covering this great game for 49 years? 49.
I know, we're a sports podcast. What if we didn't have an opinion on the teams? What are we going to talk about? But when I saw the guy...
Did you really have to drop the F-bomb there?
Yes.
You know, people get off on that sort of behaviour, your language. Will be now bombed with similar comments, wanting to hear you have a little hissy fit about it.
I'm not having a hissy fit at all.
You are.
Don't you reckon it? But I just went, that'll do me.
Yeah.
Old mate's having a crack at us about having an opinion of Origin. And I went, hang on, it's a cavoodle.
Yeah. And I 100% agree what you said about Benji. Benji has got to start winning footy games. I agree with what you said about the Waratahs fella,
I know. You want better stories, win more games. It's that simple. All right, Buzz, you heard it here first. What have you got on Des Hasler?
Well, I broke a story earlier on the Telegraph that there's been quite a big ownership change at the Gold Coast Titans, and the Frizzell family have bought out long-time benefactor Daryl Kelly. And so they own 100% of the Titans now. And very, very successful family, the Frizzells, in the car business. And I don't think they're going to just sit back and let things roll along in the manner in which they are right now. The mail I'm getting out of the Gold Coast is that Des Hasler will make an announcement very soon on his future. Des has had particularly bitter exits from the Manly Seagulls and the Canterbury Bulldogs in his last 2 starts. He's under contract for next year. I have a feeling, though, after such a disastrous season, that, you heard it here first, he will retire from rugby league. I think he's 63 years of age. He's been a wonderful premiership-winning coach, but I'm not sure he can do a lot better. He had a pretty fair roster this year, so I'm told he's now planning retirement. And he's not going to have a shit fight to get the last year of his money. He's got plenty, Desi. And, look, I think it's the right thing. He's been a great coach, great character, but, look, it's been really disappointing and they need a fresh start up there.
This lines up with the mail that I've got too. I hear you. I've been hearing this for a while, that the Frizzells have been keen to get control of the club in its entirety and to also just blow the whole thing up and start again. I wouldn't be surprised if they changed the jumper.
Really?
I wouldn't be surprised if they made serious changes across the whole organisation, and that if they're going to throw the bank at a big name coach to get them there, almost whatever it takes to get a big name coach there. Yeah, they're that serious. You know what? It's either they either take control and make a real fist of this thing. The Gold Coast has been the Bermuda Triangle in rugby league forever, and it's time for it either has to work or not. And if it doesn't, then I reckon they need to relocate it to the west of Brisbane.
Wow. The Gold Coast has a history of failure around, not just in rugby league, but with other franchises. They had the A-League team and, even with Clive Palmer and his money involved, Frank Lowy ended up kicking them out of the competition. But it's hard to get traction in that market. This year, they're very much playing second fiddle to the AFL Suns, who have that massive injection of money from the AFL, a lot more than the Melbourne-based clubs, and they're winning the battle of the codes on the coast. So they've got to fix the Titans, and they've got to do it quickly. And year after year after year, I actually said at the beginning of this year, Webby, they could play finals football with the medals they had, the back five they had. But the results aren't there. The Frizzell family, as I said, very successful in the car business. They demand excellence. They demand results. And I think as much as Daryl Kelly was a great fella and a great man in tough times, I think they'll head north. I really do.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Des Hasler retire, mate.
You heard it here first, unless it doesn't happen. Let's go to the news of the week. We're conscious that we're coming out on a Wednesday morning, and that's the day of the Origin, so some people will be listening to this after the results. So we're just going to talk more broadly about Nathan Cleary and whether he has to lead New South Wales to victory to cement his place in rugby league immortality. What say you, Phil Rothfield from the Daily Telegraph?
Brent Reid wrote a good piece today that...
Finally.
Yeah, finally.
I love you, Reedy. I'm kidding. I'm just jibbering.
Nathan Cleary equals Mitch Pearce and Joey Johns' record of 17 Origin jerseys at halfback. Joey's had a few more, but they were at hooker.
At hooker, yep.
I am of the opinion that after 4 straight premierships in a salary cap era, Sterlo won 3 at Para, no salary cap, and he had Kenny, Ella, Cronin, Growth, Price, blah, 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 blah. I think he's cemented his place as a out-and-out champion. I think he's won 3 Origin Series, Cleary.
He has.
But he, what does the word owned mean?
I know, that's right.
You know?
But people still don't think Joey owned State of Origin.
Yeah.
They think of the great breakout series in 2005. It's not the breakout series. When he came back in 2005, won game 2 and
it's funny, halfbacks
3.
Halfbacks are blamed for losses all the time and are credited for wins.
I don't think. Look, the thing is, he's 27. Like he's still got.
Gus said that on 100% Footy last night.
Well, he's got he might have 8 years to go.
Yeah.
And the way that sports science is, and the way the players, look after their bodies, and
hasn't Bulldog got him going to live with Mary Fowler and playing for Warrington?
Oh, he's in Warrington.
He's
going to
with
Perth.
That
He's going to PNG.
Yeah.
He's playing quarterback for the San Francisco 49ers.
Yes.
Could be doing anything.
Yeah. Or the Wallabies.
Look, to be honest, I think he puts the argument to bed if he's man of the match in the game.
I'll say this. I have no doubt he'll be an immortal.
So do I. Best ever we've ever seen. I think that's a really hard discussion. I would still have Joey, Wally, and Cameron Smith ahead of him. I really would. I know the 4 comps. He's won 4 comps, 2 Clive Churchills, been part of 3 Origin Series wins, and also a World Cup final win. The case against is he's never won a Dally M. He never won a Dally M and never won a deciding Origin. So he can tick that box tonight. I actually think he's more, to me, he reminds me more of, he doesn't have the genius of Wally and Joey and even JT to an extent, but he reminds me more of Cameron Smith in the way they can control the game. Remember how everything just seemed to be happening in slow motion for Cameron? And I feel that's the same with Nathan. I hate ranking players, to be honest. It's they're all special in their own way, and Nathan's definitely in that stratosphere with them.
Yeah, Cleary's done it with losing half the side to Canterbury, to losing, Coruscant to West Tigers, to lose Andrew Webster, your namesake, as a coach, to lose Trent Barrett as a coach, to lose Cameron Serrato as a coach. And I know his old man's a genius, and has masterminded all, but he's delivered on the field. And
what he did against Brisbane in that grand final.
What he did the other night in the game of the year against Canterbury.
Incredible.
He didn't win a pass, he won it with a charge down.
Well, when he came out of that tunnel, you could look at his eyes and just go, that guy's going to have a night, and he did.
He read that the fullback was nowhere but in the back there, and there was a charge down on.
Incredible. And he's a nice kid.
Lovely young fella, mate. Lovely young fella. A little bit mad as a kid, like all kids are. Remember, he's in all the drama with COVID and all that sort of shit, but they grow up,
pretty sedate in the big scheme of things.
Yes,
particularly in the light of Paul Gallen's interview earlier today.
Yeah.
Hey, let's get to our second item. South in crisis, to use one of your favourite catch cries.
# South in crisis.
Are they?
They're equal last in the NRL. They're second last in New South Wales Cup, and they're third last in Jersey Flag. So the club's very, very messy at the moment. They have their star signing, $700,000 a year, former St Helens and Great Britain halfback playing second grade, and they're getting beat there, as I said. He's not doing a lot there. I think we have to look at their recruitment, and we go back 4 or 5 years. The decision let Adam Reynolds go. You know this young fella from England?
Yeah.
Todd? Lewis Dodd? Lewis Dodd. What
am
I talking, Todd? I'm a gibber. Lewis Dodd. This week they got
Todd.
Bud.
Who are you talking about?
Yeah, this week Bud Sullivan's out. Walker's out. He still can't make first grade.
What is happening there?
And look, I was talking to the boys on Triple M about this. I got so much time for Blake Solly. I think he's a genius CEO. But I think this club, they blamed Demetrio last year and punted him. They signed Wayne, and Wayne was going to come in and fix it. As I said at the start, Webby, they need a serious review at the end of this year. So I'll tell you what, there's one guy I think has played the lights out, and that's Latrell. Latrell's been great. But there's a lot of underperforming players in that side, and they're desperately lacking middles. Once the Burgess boys all finished up there, there's no warmth at that footy club. No one taking them forward. They moved Kalamatangi to prop. Had 3 or 4 great games, nearly made Origin. He's struggled like, mate.
So you just can't use the excuse of injuries.
Oh, I should have mentioned, they've had more than anyone.
A shocking run with injuries, but, that what they served up on the weekend wasn't great.
No, not down at Manly. Manly have been playing like...
So who you blame? You blame Blake? He listens to this. He listens to this podcast, by the way. Shout out to Blake Solly.
No, I'm not blaming Blake. What I will say, I'll back Blake to conduct a thorough review into recruitment at that club.
That's what
there's even a suggestion that spending $900,000 on Jack Whiten, who tries his backside off every time he runs onto that football field, but whether they needed a Jack Whiten type player or should have spent the money on a Fanua Blake or a middle forward is the question I'd be asking.
Do you a lot of people peg it on the removal of Adam Reynolds from the club.
Yeah.
Well, not the removal. The fact that he was basically given the option of going to Brisbane. You think it all stems from there?
Well, South were worried
it's a bit more than that, surely.
No, but hold on. South were worried about his body. They wouldn't want it year to year, Reynolds wanted security. So it's in hindsight, all these years down the track, his body has actually stood up. And he's doing a good job up in Brisbane. He's not Adam Reynolds of 10 years ago.
But you know what I reckon they missed?
I think they made a mistake.
But I agree. But you're not just losing him physically. You're losing
his brain,
his football, nous and intelligence.
Yeah.
His IQ, as they like to say.
You're going good this podcast.
I was going to hang on.
I was so worried about no. I was so worried when you attacked me over my chump, and then good podcast, Webby. Good podcast.
God, you're a chipper.
Why?
I attacked you. You asked me my opinion. I disagreed. Yeah. That's an attack.
Okay, that's news story number 2. I'm going to have a go at hosting next week.
Well, it's funny you should say that because Michael Miller, the supreme leader at News Corp,
executive chairman,
who's a great man and a big supporter of our podcast.
Yes.
He actually floated the idea of you hosting.
Really? Wow. Why?
If the big boss wants it,
yeah,
you're going to have to oblige.
I'm going to have a whack next week.
You can do it next week.
As long as I get the air condition remote, because I can sweat up under pressure. I can.
I know. I've seen it.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I can too.
News story 3, Andrew.
International cricket in crisis.
I was going to practice hosting them, but yeah, international cricket in crisis.
Hey.
Yeah.
My time to shine.
Yeah.
Australia retained the Frank Worrell Trophy earlier this week with another commanding win against the West Indies. Australia has held that trophy since 1995 when Mark Taylor was captain. I remember getting up and watching that as a young'un in the middle of the night, and it was such a big breakthrough win, up there with beating India on home soil, because the Windies hadn't lost a series for 15 years before that.
They're unbeatable.
Look at it.
And I grew up as a young fella, and I if there was no TV coverage, you'd listen to your radio, and it was like Ashes cricket.
Yeah.
They were so good, and, there was so many champions there.
So fast forward to this test. Daniel Cherney for Code Sports actually had an interesting take on it. So the match finished so early that Cameron Green, the number 3, went and practiced on his game in the nets for the rest of the afternoon. Not drinking, not getting on the red stripes, but enjoying the.
They'd be on the gibber juice for 3 days normally. They would, wouldn't they?
Oh yeah.
But I don't know. It is sad, Webby. It is really, really sad that I know South Africa won the World Championship a couple of weeks back, but outside of India and England, is there a lot to look forward to in cricket these days?
South Africa. Australia.
Yeah, but South Africa have been going awful too.
But you know
mate.
what, Buzz? Because you know what it is? Because 2020 is the golden goose.
2020's crap.
I know.
You know it's crap.
I'm with you, Buzz. I'm a purist.
You know, they put
I can't
that
watch
bloody
2020.
Big Bash on. They put 30 games on them. 2 or 3 of them are good. The rest you can't watch.
The kids love it.
Oh, do they?
The kids love it. Test cricket under fire.
I tell you, we are going to have a sensational summer. You know why? We got India coming out here for white ball, and then we got the Ashes. This will be a good summer.
That'd be good. You want to be,
but it's England and India.
You'd want some. You want some freebies to that test in Sydney, wouldn't you?
Yeah. Well,
am I joining you?
No. It's very interesting what you say because I've had discussions with senior people at venues New South Wales.
Yeah, Phil Heads.
About your position in the Sheraton Suite, which is under review right now. And the quote I got from Philip Heads was, he'll be flat out getting an invite to a Shield game.
Oh, was that right?
Yes.
Very good.
It was right.
Very good.
So,
well, I was thinking if that's the case, then
why are you so bitter?
I'm not bitter. I'm a reporter, Phil.
Yeah, so am I.
I'm a reporter.
Yeah.
Devoid of agenda. Call it as it is.
Philip Heads is a reasonably powerful man.
I'm going to send you a copy of the MEAA's Code of Ethics.
Code of Conduct or Ethics?
And Conduct. You need that too. You know, I was just thinking if I can't get in that suite, is a bit of a fantasy land. I'm going to have to frost my own glasses in the fridge and put beer into them and maybe some arancini balls and some the party pies. You know those party pies at the end?
I'll never forget there was two McGrath days ago, and it was pissing down raining all day. So I've made a decision, you know, I wasn't going to stay there on the drink all day. Oh. So I left about 2. I had reports that you sort of shuffled your way out of the ground at about 8, 2 hours after, and there wasn't a ball bowled.
Is that
true?
That may or may not be the case. Yeah. It is a special day.
It's a great day.
As I said, all I want is the Oasis tickets. That's all I'm worried about. Just seriously, just finally on the Windies. When I was over there covering cricket about 15 years ago, you could see the writing on the wall for West Indies cricket. Like they were none of the kids were playing cricket on
basketball, isn't it?
Basketball and soccer. Yeah, and they're all wearing NBA and Premier League sort of shirts and singlets and like it's it's just it's just have you been to the Caribbean, Buzz?
Never have.
They love you over there.
Yeah.
Let's get to our war story. So we are going to talk about our first back pages.
Yes.
So Buzz, yours would have been Bradman's first test, wouldn't it? Tell me what
have you written that down as a line? It's not bad.
It's pretty good, isn't it?
Not bad.
It's the comedy that I'm coming up with on this podcast.
Mine's not a bad yarn because it had nothing to do with rugby league. It was about 1978. 1977 it might have been. I should have Googled the game. But it was a local Sydney Aussie Rules Grand Final. And it was Newtown versus Pennant Hills. And it was at Trumpet Park in Rushcutters Bay. Okay? Crowd of about 500. The Swans weren't in town. No one had thought of and AFL was just tiny. I just wanted to get a story into the paper. Might have been a copy boy at the time. So I went to the sports editor.
How old were you again?
17, 18.
Yeah, right. So you're pup.
So, and a copy boy. So I went to John Hoggett, who was the sports editor at the time, and I said, look, I noticed there's a Sydney Aussie Rules Grand Final on. No one really cares, but look, it's a grand final. Can I go out and cover the game? And I'll just write a brief, 3 paragraphs, and it'll be back with the comics or the crosswords. You know, no one cared about it. But I wanted to show him I was keen. And so I ducked down to Rushcutters Bay on the... Mate, you have no idea the story that developed, okay? They're playing Pennant Hills. First 15 minutes, he was retiring after the game. There's no send-off rule in AFL. So he just wanted to belt everyone.
Fantastic.
Absolutely. He was just smashing blokes.
Well, with stiff arms and stuff like that.
Stiff arms, open fists, forearms. You know what? His own players in a grand final got the shits so much about what he was doing, they friggin' walked off.
Oh,
Match abandoned.
What a great yarn. Grand final too.
Yes. There was a bloke there on the St George AFL committee who worked in photography at our place. I went and saw him. I said, geez, I wish I had a picture. He raced to his car and he got photos of a little bit of this mayhem. And so I went back to work and I said, look, your call, but this is worth more than 3 pars. Match abandoned. We had pictures of blood and broken bones.
Oh, fantastic.
So it became a back page, then a spread on the first 2 pages.
Oh, you would have been beside yourself, Buzz, as a young journo.
Sydney Aussie Rules had never, ever had I actually won the Aussie Rules Media Award for reporting on this darkest day in
because history.
Because they'd never had 3 pages because that was my first back page.
Wow.
Crazy stuff. It's about getting lucky, being there at the right time.
Well, that's what it is. That's journalism.
It's interesting. I often think what would have happened if, like, AAP wouldn't have cared. They wouldn't have covered it.
There's no other journos there?
Not that I can recall, no.
How good.
Time. Yeah. Bloody hell. New down captain coach.
How good.
I reckon he might have got life.
He's never been in contact with you since?
No.
Mine isn't that exciting.
What was yours?
We'll
do front pages next week.
We'll do front pages next week. But I started in the country, so I started the Maitland Mercury, and so we all I was the only sports reporter I had. We used to write 40 stories.
How old?
20, I think 20, 21, no 20. Yeah, it was definitely 20. Because I went to uni, and so we when you're the only journo, I'd write 40 stories for the week. So I had 3 stories on the back page most days, but the most memorable ones early was when Joey came back from injury, and I just went, he's back, and that's all you needed to know because Joey was through the
right.
his stature was through the roof. That was 97, but also that year that was the Super League year, and that's when the Curry Bulldogs hosted at Curry Sports Ground a trial match between the Hunter Mariners and the Penrith Panthers.
Yeah, right.
And Boots Plumbing, their major sponsor, pulled the sponsorship because they were so anti-Super League.
Was that on the back?
It was down page on the back, and the Newcastle Herald ripped the story. Oh, it's a great yarn.
They ripped it off,
and they ripped it off and rewrote it the next day like I hadn't even published it.
Fair dinkum.
And that's when I started.
Would that have been George Pigford? Famous old Newcastle Herald who was around forever.
George might have gone by then.
Stuart Roach?
Maybe.
Roach. A couple of good journos up there at the time.
There was.
Yeah.
Well, they rewrote my copy and I was filthy.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Sometimes your copy needs a little bit of work, Andrew. I used to edit your stuff.
Don't make me walk over that table.
You have developed into quite a wordsmith, but
you didn't have to touch. You didn't have to touch a comma of my copy. How dare you?
Righto.
All right, let's wrap it up. Fearless forecast, Buzz. What do you got?
Canberra Raiders to win the 2026 NRL Premiership.
You've declared it.
They are $6. Melbourne Storm might be $2.75. I'll tell you something about this Canberra Raiders side.
Tell me, Buzz. Tell me, Uncle Buzz.
Big Papa and, mate, they're so strong in the forwards. And Big Papa and Tarpany, right, your front rowers. They've got so much talent on the edges with Hosking. They've got, players, Hudson Young to come back after Origin. They got good. I love the 5'8" there, Ethan Strange. Fogarty's going enormous, and I reckon they got the most dynamic back 5.
Yeah.
In rugby. And that KO Weeks, what a superstar.
I pay to watch him. His footwork's incredible.
And, mate, I honestly think they're leading the comp for a reason. They've still got 2 buys up their sleeve. Canterbury used all theirs. And they should be shorter than $6.
And they haven't got the toughest draw at all to finish off the year.
And there's another thing there that I looked up Sticky's age today. He's 58. Mate, he's played in grand finals. He's won grand finals. He coached the Roosters to win, albeit in 2002, a long time ago, but he also took them into that famous grand final when they were dudded with the...
2019.
Yeah.
100%.
So when you got a young, youthful side who can recover quickly with nagging injuries and, and have them up... Mate, I think he could go all the way.
It would be one of the most incredible stories for the game.
Yeah.
It really would. It'd be good to see.
Oh, absolutely.
For variety's sake, at the least, let us see it happen. My fearless forecast, I've already backed Stephen Crichton to be man of the match in the Origin Decider at $23. I couldn't believe that he's now out to $34.
Jeez.
I think that's a good price. He is in great form, Critter. If he gets the ball, there'll be no stopping him. And I've got a bit of form here.
Cleary will be man of the match.
I've got a bit of form here. I got Liam Martin as the Clive Churchill medalist last year at about $30.
Wow.
Because I'm such a good tipster.
Gamble responsibly.
I will try. Thanks very much, Buzz.
It was fun today. I enjoyed Gal. I enjoyed this. Can't wait to our listeners to hear the Gal interview.
Yeah, me too. It should. It's a ripper.
You even bought a coffee.
For you.
Yeah,
I know. The tightest man in rugby league outside of Des Hasler. Although Des mustn't be. He's about to give up.
You're brave enough to say that now he's gone.
I said it to him in the podcast.
Yeah, right.
I asked him who's tighter, him or Des. Yeah. Des must be loosening up if he's letting go of a year of pay.
Yeah.
Listen, thanks everyone for listening. You can follow, subscribe and engage with us on socials. You can find us at Off the Record Podcast on Insta. And you can subscribe to us at on YouTube at Off the Record Podcast. Thanks, Buzz.
On your Webbo, thank you.